The city never sleeps, and neither did my thoughts that night. Rain-slicked streets reflected neon signs, painting everything in a dangerous glow. I was walking alone, heart pounding, when I first saw him, Mateo. His presence was magnetic, terrifying, like standing at the edge of a cliff. Everyone whispered about the cartel boss, the man no one dared cross. But for some reason, I couldn't look away. That night, my life was about to change forever. The bar was dim, filled with smoke and the low hum of dangerous conversations. Mateo sat in the corner, a glass of whiskey in hand, eyes scanning the room like a predator. I felt a pull I couldn't explain, a mix of fear and curiosity twisting in my stomach. People moved away when he passed, but I stayed rooted, drawn closer by something I couldn't name. His reputation screamed danger, yet his gaze caught mine, softening just enough to make my heart skip. It was the beginning of a forbidden pull I couldn't resist. I tried to tell myself to leave, to escape before things got complicated, but my legs refused to move. Mateo's voice, low and smooth, cut through the haze of the bar, calling my name as if he'd been waiting for me all along. Every instinct screamed danger, yet every fiber of me wanted to step closer. His presence was intoxicating, like standing too close to fire. You know it will burn you, but you can't look away. I felt my heartbeat racing, my mind caught between reality and desire. And in that moment, I knew my life was about to change forever. Mateo's eyes never left mine as he took a slow step forward, closing the distance that felt both threatening and thrilling. Around us, the world seemed to blur. The music, the chatter, the smoke, everything faded except for the pull between us. I wanted to run. I knew I should, but my legs betrayed me. He tilted his head slightly, a smirk playing on his lips, and my pulse spiked. This wasn't just attraction. It was something dangerous, forbidden, and impossible to ignore. And somehow, I wanted to taste that danger, even if it meant losing myself in the process. I tried to tell myself to leave, to escape before things got complicated. But I must have had a baking point on because I knew I couldn't leave love. Look, I know this isn't safe, I whispered, my voice trembling. Mateo's smirk softened into something unreadable, and he reached out, brushing a stray strand of hair from my face. He murmured, "Nothing worth feeling ever is," and my chest tightened. The air between us was electric, a mix of fear and desire I couldn't name. As he stepped back, vanishing into the shadows, I realized I was hooked, and there was no turning back. If you want to see how this forbidden story unfolds, hit that subscribe button now and don't miss what's coming next. The city's streets were quiet, but my mind was loud, replaying Mateo's words over and over. Every corner I turned felt like it hid a shadow, a secret waiting to be exposed. I kept telling myself to stay away, but curiosity had its claws deep in me. The thrill of danger mixed with a strange pull toward him, something I couldn't explain. And then I saw him again, leaning casually against a lamppost, his dark eyes locking onto mine like he'd been waiting. I tried to act normal, walking past him as if the night air and neon lights were all that mattered. But Mateo's presence was magnetic, pulling me closer with every step I took away. My heart raced, a dangerous mix of fear and excitement swirling inside me. He didn't speak, just watched, that knowing smirk teasing me like a secret we both shared. Something in his gaze promised danger, yet I couldn't resist wanting more. That night, I realized just how addictive forbidden attraction could be. The city felt alive around us, buzzing with neon signs and distant sirens, but all I could hear was the pounding of my own heartbeat. Mateo stepped closer, his shadow merging with mine under the streetlights, blurring the line between danger and desire. I knew I shouldn't, yet every instinct screamed to stay, to see where this led. The forbidden thrill wrapped around me like a velvet rope, pulling tighter with every stolen glance. He leaned in slightly, close enough for me to feel the heat of his words before they even left his lips. That night, the city witnessed a spark that could ignite a fire too wild to control. We ducked into a narrow alley, the world behind us fading into shadows and whispered secrets. Mateo's hand found mine, and the shock of his touch sent shivers through me I didn't want to name. Every step we took deeper into the night felt like stepping further into a forbidden story no one else could read. The danger wasn't just around us. It was in the air between our stolen glances, in the electricity of a promise unspoken. I knew following him meant risking everything, but the pull was irresistible, a dark thread tying my fate to his. Every heartbeat screamed warning, yet curiosity drowned it out completely. As we reached the end of the alley, a sudden sound froze us in place. A car door slamming, footsteps echoing too close. Mateo's eyes darkened, and for the first time, I saw the edge of danger in him, sharp and real. My chest tightened, a mix of fear and something forbidden that thrilled me to the core. "Stay close," he whispered, his voice a tether pulling me into the unknown. In that moment, I realized this night would change everything, and there was no turning back. And just like that, we disappeared into the shadows, leaving questions that only the next night could answer. The city lights flickered above us as we moved through the deserted streets, each step echoing like a warning. Mateo's hand brushed mine, a spark of something dangerous and irresistible. I wanted to pull away, but my body betrayed me, leaning closer to the man I knew I shouldn't trust. He glanced at me, a smirk playing on his lips, and whispered, "You have no idea what you're getting into." The words sent a chill down my spine, and yet I felt drawn deeper, like a moth to a flame I couldn't escape. Tonight, everything was about to change. The rain started to fall, drenching the street and mixing with the adrenaline pounding in my veins. Mateo grabbed my hand, pulling me through the maze of narrow streets, each step echoing like a drum of impending danger. My mind screamed at me to escape, but my body betrayed me, moving with him as if it had a will of its own. Every corner we turned revealed another secret of the city, another shadow hiding threats we couldn't yet see. And through it all, I couldn't help but wonder, was I running from danger or straight into it? The thrill of the unknown twisted with my fear, leaving me dizzy, yet craving more. Mateo stopped abruptly in an alley and pressed me against the cold brick wall as a black SUV rolled slowly past. My heart raced, thumping so loudly I was sure they could hear it. He whispered, almost too low to catch, "They're looking for you, but not just anyone. They want us." The words sent a chill down my spine, and yet, strangely, I felt a spark of exhilaration. Danger had never felt this intoxicating before, and the way Mateo's eyes held mine made it even harder to breathe. I realized then that whatever lay ahead, I was no longer just a girl in the city. I was part of something forbidden, something thrilling, something that could consume us both. We moved quickly through the shadows, hearts pounding in unison, every footstep echoing like a warning. Mateo's hand never left mine, grounding me even as fear and excitement collided in my chest. I caught a glimpse of the city lights above, glittering like a promise we weren't sure we could keep. "We have to stay ahead," he murmured, voice tense yet calm, and I nodded, feeling a strange thrill at our shared secret. And just as we disappeared into the night, I realized that this was only the beginning. There were darker roads ahead, and I would follow him, no matter how forbidden, no matter how dangerous. The morning air hit me like a shock, sharp and unforgiving, as I stumbled into the alley behind Mateo's hideout. Shadows of the city felt heavier today, like they were watching, judging every move. Mateo was already there, leaning against the brick wall, his eyes dark with thought, fingers tapping a silent rhythm of tension. "We can't trust anyone," he said, voice low, almost a growl, and I shivered, knowing he wasn't exaggerating. My heart raced, but alongside the fear, a dangerous thrill coursed through me, reminding me why I couldn't walk away. I followed him into the dimly lit room, walls covered in maps and numbers, each marking a piece of the empire he ruled. The scent of coffee mixed with smoke lingered, a strange comfort in the chaos. Mateo's gaze never left the papers as he whispered plans that could change everything, or end us both. My fingers brushed against the cold metal of the gun on the table, a reminder that danger wasn't just a story here, it was real, constant. I swallowed, trying to steady my voice. "What's next?" I asked, knowing whatever he said, my life would never be the same again. He leaned back in his chair, a slow smirk forming on his face, as if he already knew I couldn't walk away. "Next, we secure the shipment tonight," he said, voice low, almost a purr. My heart raced, excitement and fear twisting together like fire and ice. Outside, the city hummed, unaware of the storm about to hit its streets. I realized then that being close to him meant being part of a world I never imagined, a dark thrill I couldn't resist. Every instinct screamed to run, but something deeper, darker held me in place. The night air was thick as we stepped into the shadows, the neon lights flickering like silent witnesses to our plan. My hands trembled slightly, but I masked it, matching his confident stride. Each corner we turned, every glance over my shoulder pulled me deeper into his dangerous world. The thrill was intoxicating, almost addictive, and I hated that I couldn't look away. He caught my eye for a brief second, a silent acknowledgement passing between us, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. It was clear, tonight would change everything, and there was no going back. As we reached the edge of the abandoned warehouse, a sudden sound froze us in place, a car door slamming somewhere in the darkness. My heart raced, and I realized just how close we were to crossing a line that could ruin everything. He leaned closer, his voice a low whisper only I could hear. "Once we go in, there's no turning back." I nodded, caught between fear and desire, knowing this choice would define us. "Before we stepped forward, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, you won't want to miss the chaos and secrets about to unfold in Chapter 5. The night air was thick, carrying the scent of wet asphalt and danger. I could feel his hand brush against mine as we stepped closer to the warehouse, every step echoing in the empty street. Shadows danced across the walls, making familiar shapes look threatening, and my stomach twisted in anticipation. I tried to steady my breathing, but the tension between us was electric, almost unbearable. He whispered, "Stay close. Whatever happens, don't let go." My mind raced with questions, but I knew one thing. I couldn't turn back now. Inside the warehouse, the air was colder, almost suffocating. Crates and barrels created a maze of hiding spots, and every creak of the floor made me jump. I could hear muffled voices in the distance, tense and urgent, like predators stalking their prey. He squeezed my hand, grounding me, and for a moment, the chaos outside didn't exist. My heart pounded, a mixture of fear and something dangerously thrilling, as I realized how close we were to uncovering secrets that could change everything. A sudden noise made us freeze. Shadows moved across the far wall, and I could see the glint of a gun reflecting the dim light. He pressed me against the crates, whispering a plan that made my pulse race faster than ever. Every second felt stretched, like the world had slowed just for us. I could smell the leather of his jacket, and the danger didn't feel distant. It was here, pressing against us, testing our courage and trust. We moved silently through the warehouse, hearts pounding like drums. Every step echoed too loudly. Every shadow seemed alive, following us. He held my hand tighter, as if to remind me I wasn't alone in this chaos. My thoughts raced. What if they caught us? What if this was the end of everything we'd fought for? Yet there was a thrill in the danger, a dark allure I couldn't resist, and I realized I trusted him more than anyone in my life. We finally reached the back exit, breathing heavily, adrenaline still coursing through our veins. The night air hit us like a shock, carrying both relief and fear. I looked at him, and in his eyes I saw the same mix of longing and danger that had drawn me in from the start. "We can't stop now. Not until this is over," he whispered. I nodded, knowing the road ahead was darker, riskier, but something inside me refused to turn back. The real game was just beginning, and you'll see why in the next chapter. The city lights blurred past us as we drove in silence, each of us lost in our own thoughts. My heart pounded not just from the chase, but from the closeness we shared, a dangerous connection that shouldn't exist. I kept stealing glances at him, wondering how someone so ruthless could also make me feel alive. Every street corner reminded me of the life we couldn't have, the love that was forbidden. But for some reason, breaking the rules had never felt so tempting, so inevitable. He finally broke the silence, his voice low and dangerous. "You know this can't last, right?" I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of truth pressing down on us. Every decision we'd made had led to this moment, yet the thrill of being together outweighed the fear. I could see the conflict in his eyes, between his world of power and my world of normalcy. But even with the danger looming, I couldn't step back. The pull between us was too strong. For a fleeting moment, the city outside disappeared, leaving just him and me, lost in a forbidden world of desire and risk. The next day, the cartel's plans became clearer and the stakes were higher than ever. I watched him from across the room, trying to read the lines of tension on his face. Every movement he made seemed calculated, a chess player thinking 10 steps ahead. Yet there was a softness reserved only for me. I knew I was walking a tightrope, flirting with danger at every turn, but something inside me craved it, the thrill, the forbidden love that defied all reason. The city felt alive with secrets, and each shadow could hide a threat or a promise. And deep down, I realized that once you step into his world, there's no turning back. By nightfall, the streets whispered with danger, and I felt the city's pulse under my skin. He pulled me close, his hand brushing mine with a tension that made my heart race. Every glance was loaded with unspoken words, every touch a reminder of the thin line we were crossing. I knew that in another life, this love could never exist, but in this one, it burned brighter than the neon lights around us. The cartel's world was ruthless, but in his arms, I found a moment of forbidden peace, fleeting yet intoxicating, and I couldn't help but wonder if desire alone was enough to survive what was coming next. A sudden shout echoed from a nearby alley, snapping us out of our fragile bubble. He tensed instantly, eyes scanning the shadows for threats only he could see. My pulse quickened, a mixture of fear and adrenaline flooding me as I realized how deep I was in his world. He whispered a warning under his breath, the heat of his voice brushing my ear, making my skin tingle. In that moment, I understood the cost of love with him: danger, secrecy, and the thrill of the forbidden. And yet, I couldn't turn away. My heart had already chosen him, no matter the price. The city lights flickered like distant stars as we drove through the night, the engine's hum filling the tense silence between us. He glanced at me, his eyes dark pools of emotion, and I caught the hint of a storm brewing behind them. Every street we passed seemed to whisper warnings, yet I felt an intoxicating pull toward him, a desire I couldn't, or didn't want to, resist. The air in the car was thick with unspoken truths, promises and threats intertwined in a dangerous dance. I realized then that this wasn't just about love. It was survival, trust, and surrender, all rolled into one forbidden embrace. He pulled into a deserted alley, the shadows swallowing the car as if the city itself wanted to hide us. My heart raced, a mix of fear and something far more thrilling, as I tried to steady my breathing. "We can't keep running," he said. his voice low, almost a growl, and I shivered, not from the cold, but from the intensity in his gaze. Each word he spoke felt like a chain wrapping around my chest, pulling me closer to danger and desire all at once. I knew crossing this line could destroy everything, yet the pull was magnetic, undeniable, like a flame I couldn't help but reach for. The sound of footsteps echoed behind us, sharp and deliberate, breaking the fragile silence. He turned sharply, eyes scanning every shadow, tension radiating from him in waves I could almost touch. "They're close," he muttered, gripping my hand tightly, pulling me closer as if to shield me from the storm that was coming. My pulse raced, a wild rhythm that matched the adrenaline flooding my veins. Each second felt stretched, dangerous, yet electrifying, a forbidden thrill I couldn't resist. In that moment, I realized the line between fear and desire had completely blurred. We ducked into a narrow alley, shadows swallowing us whole, the city's neon lights painting distorted reflections on the wet pavement. He pressed me against the wall, eyes intense, scanning every movement, every sound. "Stay quiet," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear, sending shivers down my spine. My heart hammered, caught between terror and excitement, knowing we were stepping into danger no one else could survive. The air smelled of rain and asphalt, sharp and real, grounding me in the moment as if nothing else mattered but him and me. Every step we took deeper into the alley felt like a dance with fate itself. We finally stopped at an abandoned warehouse, its broken windows staring like hollow eyes. He pulled me close, voice low and dangerous. "Once we're in, there's no turning back." My pulse raced as I realized the truth in his words. This was bigger than both of us, and yet I couldn't resist. The tension between fear and desire twisted inside me like a storm, and I knew I was addicted to the risk, to him. Every creaking floorboard echoed like a drumbeat, counting down to the unknown, and I clung to him, my anchor in the chaos. I looked into his eyes, and for a moment, the world outside didn't exist. The city lights flickered through the cracked walls of the warehouse as we moved deeper inside. Shadows danced around us like ghosts of everything we had risked to get here. I could feel his hand tighten around mine, a silent promise and warning all at once. The air was thick with tension, every sound amplified. The distant hum of traffic, the scurrying of rats, our own breaths. I knew that once we stepped further, there would be no turning back, no safety net. But even with the danger screaming at me, I felt alive in a way I never had before, addicted to the thrill of forbidden love. We reached the inner room, the scent of leather and gunpowder hitting us instantly. Mateo's eyes scanned every corner, alert, calculating, while I tried to steady my racing heart. The air between us was electric, danger and desire colliding in ways I couldn't explain. I whispered his name, and he turned, our eyes locking in a silent agreement that whatever happened next, we'd face it together. The cartel's presence was palpable. I could almost hear their whispers, feel their eyes on us, yet it only made my pulse quicken. Every step we took forward pulled us deeper into the chaos, and I realized we were dancing on the edge of something terrifying and irresistible. Mateo moved closer, his hand brushing mine in a fleeting, electric touch that made my stomach flip. The room was tense, every shadow a potential threat, but in that moment, nothing else mattered. I could feel the weight of his presence, the promise of protection, and something dangerously intimate. He whispered a plan, low and urgent, his breath tickling my ear, and I nodded, trusting him completely. The cartel's men were just beyond the doorway, unaware of our next move, and my heart raced with a mix of fear and anticipation. It was a game of survival and seduction, and I wasn't sure which was more thrilling. We slipped through the dark hallway, shadows clinging to us like secrets. Every step was calculated, every sound amplified in my ears. Mateo's hand remained on my back, steadying me, a silent promise that I wasn't alone. The air smelled of smoke and danger, and my pulse thundered in my chest. I could hear the distant voices of the cartel, unaware that we were inches away from outsmarting them. In that tension-filled moment, fear and excitement collided, and I realized how much I had become entangled in this forbidden world. As we finally emerged into the cold night air, a sense of victory, mixed with dread, washed over me. Mateo's eyes met mine, fierce and protective, and I knew this was only the beginning of our dangerous journey. The city lights flickered like promises we weren't sure we could keep. My heart raced, not just from the escape, but from the forbidden thrill that came with standing beside him. Every secret we'd uncovered, every risk we had taken, had brought us here, but the story wasn't over yet. If you've been hooked by Mateo and the dark twists of our story, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more, because the shadows we face are far from gone.